Keep turning. Alright. Saint Germain is a local saint from Pebare, France. Her stepmother starved her, beat her, and forced her to live with the sheep. Despite this cruelty and increasingly illness, Germain remained loving and prayerful. This statue depicts an incident in which Germain was caught by her stepmother smuggling in something in her apron. The mother grabbed her apron and found it contained flowers, though it was the dead of winter. Germain claimed they were from God. She's the patron saint of abused children and poverty. Fantastic. Hey, let's actually read this while we're here. Introduction. Welcome to Mary Magdalene's Church. In 1646, when a significant restoration was done to this building, a church had stood for this site for centuries. When Abbe Bergener, Saunier, arrived in 1885, the church was once again in serious disrepair. During early labours, a discovery was made under the altar stone, a discovery which led to great wealth for the Abbe. The story of Saunier can be found at Rennes-le-Château Museum and in many books. By the end of his life, Saunier had restored the church in a colourful, expensive and unorthodox manner of his own design. Some feel he may have hidden clues to the secret of his wealth in the church decorations. The sunlight phenomena. On the 22nd of July each year, the feast day of Mary Magdalene, if one stands at the church dawn and turns towards Chateau de Blanchefort, the sun will rise directly over the ruins, forming a straight line of light between the two. There are those who claim that the alignments and consecration of this site and others in the valley were plotted long ago, perhaps even by the early Celtic inhabitants. Awesome. The devil and the four angels. The devil in the church draws as much attention as the other elements combined. What was Abbe Saunier's purpose? Some have linked the devil to the devil Asmodeus. Others to the Catharian idea of Rex Mundi, the king of the world. Some tie him to the armchair of the devil nearby. Still others to the Satan himself, as a sign above proclaims, "By this sign you shall conquer him." The Latin on the four angels, par se signi du vernacles, can be translated as, "By this sign shall you conquer him / it," or "By this sign shall you win him / it." The four angels themselves are a classic Catholic motif, showing the positions of the hands during genuflection, though some have argued that these angels may not refer to the genuflection, but to some secret direction or shape. Saint Roche. Saint Roche, along with Saint Germain, is one of the two local saints in the church. Roche was the son of the governor of Montpellier. He went to Rome and cared for plague victims, curing many miraculously. He is invoked against pestilence and plague and is the patron saint of invalids. Saint Mary Magdalene. The Mary Magdalene statue is depicted with a cross made of branches, the silver vase of healing balm in which she watched Jesus' feet, and a skull at the saint's feet. The oddity of the statue lies in its unusual juxtaposition of Magdalene and the skull, a relationship uncommon in religious art. Interestingly, there are 3 other Magdalene statues with skulls in 3 other churches in the area: Saint Just de la Bisou, Bougrach, and Custatessa. I think that's how you say it. Custas, or whatever. Saint Anthony of Padua. Saint Anthony of Padua was a Franciscan monk who focused his ministry on heretics. The statue depicts a vision he had of the infant Jesus. The infant Christ. The lily represents purity. In keeping with his conversion of the heretics, he is the patron saint of lost items. What? How does converting heretics translate into being a patron saint of lost items? I don't know. The Saint Joseph and the Virgin with infants. Behind the altar can be seen the Holy Family. Saint Joseph with infant and the Virgin with infant. Some have speculated the oddity of there being 2 infants depicted between the saints instead of 1. That is weird. Saint Mary Magdalene altar. The altar repeats elements found in the Magdalene statue and adds new ones. The Magdalene appears in a cave. At her knees is a skull, and she gazes fixedly upon a slight cross made from branches. But on this cross one can see a new living twig growing forth. Could this be referred to a living offshoot of Christianity, or Saint Anthony the Hermit, or Le Hermit? Saint Anthony with book and staff, Saint Anthony c. 468 AD, longed for a life of quiet meditation, but he was forced to move ever more remote locales to escape his growing followers. He finally fled to Lenus, Gaul, also in the Languedoc, and there he died. Huzzah! Saint John the Baptist and Jesus. Jesus, as he's being anointed by his cousin the Baptist, gazes placidly downwards. The Sermon on the Mount. Crowning the Alps in the large bas-relief of the Beatitudes Sermon, or whatever, I don't care. The Sermon on the Mount. Many have pointed out the incongruities of the bag of gold and the roses strewn on the hill. And the church floor. The black and white altering squares in the church floor must have been much debated. Some have linked the tiles to the heretical Cathar notion of duality. Though Saunier would have been familiar with Cathar's beliefs, there is no reason to assume that he himself expounded them. Wow, this has a lot of language it doesn't need. Fantastic. So, now that we've read all that, let's move forward to have a little look at Le Hermitage.
Saint Anthony the Hermit. Isn't he mentioned in Le Serpent Rouge?
He might be. We haven't read it yet. Thank you, Grace. There's a pulpit, of course.
I believe that's where they give sermons.
On the mount. Ah!
This Magdalene imagery is really interesting. It's gotta be related to the local mystery somehow.
Yes.
Wow, that cup. It reminds me of the Holy Grail. Now that I think about it, the whole idea of communion is kind of related to the Grail.
It might be,
I wonder
yes.
which one this is referring to.
Who knows?
Maybe it's referring to both? That's Joseph and baby Jesus.
Ah.
Or is it?
Or is it?
It's the Virgin Mary and Jesus.
Or is it?
The question is, who's Joseph holding then?
Well, he could be holding Jesus, and this could be another child.
It looks like she's washing his feet. I'm not that familiar with Christian tradition, but it doesn't surprise me.
Let's look at the creepy child coming out of the book.
The pamphlet says he's the patron saint of lost items. That's interesting. He certainly has a place of honor in the church. He's the one being held up by the 4 angels, not the Magdalene.
Woo!
I don't think that would accomplish anything.
Oh, fine.
Jesus being taken for burial.
Oh.
That's weird. Doesn't the guy who's carrying the body look just like St. Anthony the Hermit? It must be a coincidence.
Must be.
Jesus is taken down from the cross.
No.
There's almost a pattern there, but I'm not sure what it is.
Tilted square.
Mary Magdalene obviously figures into this mystery in a big way. The death of Jesus.
Ah.
That must be Mary Magdalene at his feet. And the Virgin is to the left. I wonder who that figure on the right is.
Oh. I don't know.
Jesus being nailed to the cross.
Oh, fun.
I might be imagining things, but isn't there a hint of a star shape in this one?
Oh.
Particularly at Jesus' legs?
I don't know. I can't see it that close. Maybe. I don't know.
They're taking his clothes. Well, that figure in the back left is a little odd, but I don't know what to make of him.
Neither do I. I can't
It's
see
Saint
him.
Roche.
Saint
I'm not
Roche.
sure how he relates to the mystery.
But he does
Maybe
show
he's
his...
just here because he was a local.
Or maybe he's here because he was showing his legs. Ooh. Oh, let's go speak to the Abbe. Oh, look, Jesus is waving at you.
I believe that's where they give sermons.
No, I was pointing at the oh, for goodness sakes, give up.
Hello? Abbe Arnaud?
Come in.
Yay!
Miss Nakamura. Good evening.
Hello.
Hi. I was looking around town tonight. It's a beautiful church.
Thank you. Please sit down.
Alright, let's give a little talksy. What about this?
I was reading about the Magdalene statue in the church pamphlet.
Interesting, isn't it? All 4 of the Magdalene statues still exist.
So, Were they related to the local Magdalene cult?
It is possible, but Magdalene has not been represented with a skull anywhere else in the Languedoc. Besides, Saunier placed that statue so prominently, some believe that everything he did in the church relates to the treasure somehow.
Interesting. But
The church pamphlet talks about a sunrise line on July 22nd. Does that really happen?
Oh yes, if you stand at the church and look east, the sun rises directly over Chateau de Blanchefort.
Was that intentional, do you think?
Mademoiselle, but of course.
Oh, but of course.
That would mean someone had to choose the location of Blanchefort quite deliberately. It is younger than the church, isn't it?
But you see, Blanchefort and the church were built on far older ruins. Have you considered the church site, too, may have been positioned deliberately? It would not be the first time the ancients played with light and astronomy. Look at Stonehenge, or the Great Pyramids.
I suppose. If you were talking about the same people.
Do you think there's a buried treasure around here?
I know there is, my child.
Oh god, that was creepy. I know there is. Actually, while we're here, we might as well read Le Serpent Rouge so she can stop talking.
This riddle is fascinating. You can
I
almost
must see
see
what it's hinting at, but not quite. Aquarius. Sorry, I just saw that. Aquarius. Read it.
In my arduous search, I was trying to hack away with my sword through the dense vegetation of the woods like some pawn of destiny. I wanted to reach the place of the sleeping beauty, in which some poets can see the queen of a lost kingdom. Desperate to find the way, I laid down the path of Ra and was illuminated.
Now that's something I'm going to write down. Path of Ra, because that is going to be quite prominent later. Read this one for
I
me.
was further aided by the parchments of my friend. They murmur of the lady. Long ago her name was Isis, queen of the benevolent springs. Come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Others knew her as Magdalene with the celebrated vows of healing balm. The initiated knew her to be the Lady of the Lake and Notre Dame de Cross. The circle is the ring, and the crown forms the diadem of the queen of the castle.
What do you think about this one?
I lay down the path of Ra and was illuminated. What's the path of Ra? Maybe I should try a search and see what Sydney has to say about Ra.
Yeah, he's the god of the sun, for goodness sake. It is obviously talking about the path between Blanchefort and the church. Haha, I can think before you can, Grace.
I was further aided by the parchments of my friend. I wonder if they're referring to the parchments, the one Saunier found. The Queen's Guard is the Quaternity, they who stand watch over the Guardian. I look to the north and the west, then the south and the east, and everywhere I see them, their shining swords held out to meet each other. Saint Michael and his brothers with their feet rooted in the earth. They surround the Is that none may harm her, and stand pressed against her in a way that Pythagoras would have approved.
Triangle. Sorry.